In the run-up to the Lok Sabha elections, one of the clearest voices who said that BJP and Modi will be restricted to less than 240 and will not get an overwhelming majority, like most people were predicting, was economist Parakala Prabhakar. He's traveled through the country and he had said that BJP will not get more than 220 to 230 seats. The final reality is closest to what he predicted and not what the exit polls said. He's joining us for a very special interview. But before I go across to him, a quick appeal from all of us. Independent media has made sure that we bring you people's voices and don't pass off handouts and press releases as real news. We will continue doing our job. We will continue holding whoever forms the government responsible and accountable. But for that, we also need your support. Do consider becoming a paid TNM subscriber. I thank you very much, Mr. Prabhakar. It's wonderful to have you on the News Minute. And I want to congratulate you because you're one of the two people who very, very clearly said right from the beginning that BJP will not cross, the halfway mark on its own. And you've come as close as possible to the real numbers. So what gave you this confidence when the entire lot, all the psephologists on one side kept saying, 350, 300, all sorts of numbers?
Well, thank you very much, Pooja. It's very nice to be on the News Minutes platform. I've been an admirer of your News Minute for a long time. I have traveled quite a lot in the country, especially after my book, The Crooked Timber of New India, came out. There were many places I was invited to deliver a talk on the book and book discussions, etc. And then of course it went on and on, either relate to my book or I was even asked to come and lecture at some places. Two things I've done wherever I went. One is that wherever I went, I used to insist on the organizers that I would come there and speak, provided they also organize at least 2 or 3 meetings in the campuses with the young people. And the second thing I used to do is to go out for a day or so and meet a cross section of people in and around the place that I have been invited to. I met a lot of people from different professions, different age groups, of course, both the genders, and then different income groups and rural, urban, different professions and all that kind of a thing. So I've been getting a sense of what the country is thinking. And slowly, I could find that there is a huge shift in the ground. And then I've been watching also the changing narrative of the BJP and especially of the Prime Minister. And because I've not done any quantitative study this time, I used to do earlier. So I had some idea of how to elicit opinions and or how to get people to tell me what they really think about the politics, etc., and what issues are exercising their minds and all this. I'm familiar with these techniques. Not only that, I am also in possession of historical data from the first general election onwards. How the parties fared and what kind of a percentage of votes each party polled in different elections and how many seats they got as a result of that, and what has been the shift of their vote share and of course the seat share and other things, and different states and in their assembly, how did they compare their performance with the Lok Sabha performance and assembly performance and all these kind of things. I'm in possession of that. So when I started gathering these opinions from different people from different places, Pooja, except Jammu and Kashmir and the northeastern states, I had an opportunity to visit almost all these other states, and some states 2 or 3 times during these last 10 months. So that is the reason why almost about 6 months ago, I could sense that, the incumbent government at the center was facing very strong headwinds. And I'm also, in the know of the state of the economy, the price rise, the rate of inflation, the unemployment situation, inequality, and these things too. So I was trying to put these things together, what people are saying and what are the things that were exercising their minds, and what was the voting percentage earlier of the ruling party, and what was their pitch then, what did they promise, and what is the pitch now, and what are the people's expectations. When I collated all this and pieced them together, I had a sense that this government is going to face a very, very strong headwind. That is the reason why I said, they will have a drastic decline in their number. And then when I started visiting the states, I was trying to assess in that particular state how much voting percentage the ruling party had got and how many seats they got. And with the kind of change of mood, how is it going to affect them? So that is the reason why I could also uh, stick my neck out and say in this particular state they might lose these many, in this particular state they might gain, or they might try to retain whatever they had. These kind of a things, and loosely I have arrived at a figure of about 220 to 230. That was the range that I have, and now they ended up with 240. So somewhere in the range. I mean, the direction, of course, was quite right. The number is precise because it's not a quantitative study. It was just the a sense of the thing. It was somewhere in the ballpark. Yes.
I want to talk about other factors that went wrong for the BJP. But before that, if I could just ask you one question about, my latest pet peeve, the exit polls, right? Why do you think they got it so wrong? Most of them are off by almost 100 seats. Where do you think they went wrong?
That's a very difficult question, Pooja, because that will put me in a situation where I have to make a comment on some professionals. I do not want to question their professional integrity, but I must say this, that of late, more than commenting on the professionals who conducted them, I think it is the media houses which ought to be under the scanner. Sometimes it so happens that, especially in India, that opinion polls and exit polls also become part of the election campaign, election pitch, in order to influence people, maybe influence the markets, maybe influence or even to prepare the mind of people if the election were to be manipulated. These kind of figures will make them ready to believe that yes, this particular election maybe it's going in favor. Although I did not vote and my village did not vote, maybe the rest of the country voted. We do not know what's happening. There's so many things. Having said that, I must also tell you that the traditional tools of analysis of an election, in this election, they have broken down, Pooja. I have been asserting this for a long time. I'll tell you why. The traditional way of looking at an election is, which leader versus which leader, which party versus which party, or which alliance versus which alliance. And if you look at it that way, the present election, if you look at that as Modi versus some leader, BJP versus some other party, or NDA versus some other alliance, if you look at it that way, Narendra Modi looks like a Bahubali, invincible. And BJP, with all its massive resources, both financial as well as organizational, and being in power, with almost full control over the mainstream media and the narrative. With all that, BJP is almost like an electoral juggernaut. And all other parties look very, very small parties with no resources and, very weak and not able to get their act together, not even able to, put their houses in order, that kind of a thing. And then, insofar as alliance is concerned, the NDA this time is somewhere around 27 or 29 parties. I mean, people do not know, out of those 27 or 29, seven are from Tamil Nadu, and most of them, out of seven, I think maybe five of them are not able to contest even an election. But then,
I
they
think 38, including independents, as part as NDA.
yeah,
So
but if you look at the political parties, there most of them are from, a large number of them are from Tamil Nadu. So the number looks formidable. Therefore, people, if you look at that with, India Alliance and somebody who's a prominent person in the India Alliance going away and joining NDA, all these kind of thing, it looks that NDA is a very strong alliance. But then, as I said, those kind of analytical tools broke down in this election. And I looked at this election after touring and speaking, and I've seen the opposition political parties are not in good shape. Then I started feeling this when people are expressing so much of anger against the government, and they're worried about and they're very conscious about the price rise, unemployment, and rural distress and all these issues. So if you take away the vehicles of this opinion, that is the political parties. So therefore, when you remove this opposition political parties to carry the opinion of the large population, so the confrontation is going to be between the people of India and the Prime Minister, the people of India and the ruling party, and the people of India and the ruling coalition or alliance. Now, in that scenario, see, in front of the people of India, even a Bahubali kind of a leader like Narendra Modi will look like a pygmy or a Lilliput. And in front of people of India, even an electoral juggernaut would look like a toy car. And in front of the people of India, a massive coalition like NDA would look like a collection of clueless ants. That is the picture that has emerged from my tours and talks and conversations. So that is the reason I thought that this formation, this incumbent government is going to face very strong headwinds. That is the reason why I was very confident.
right. If we could just look at what sort of a government it will be, because in about 22 years or so, this is the first time Narendra Modi will have to run a coalition government. Um, from what we've seen of him, he's not best suited to accommodate allies because, it's a very authoritarian style of governance that he's shown so far. Do you think that can continue? Do you think the allies will allow that style of functioning to continue?
Pooja, why will the allies allow that to be continued? Because you see, the allies, especially the allies or the leaders who are going to be very decisive in propping up this government, are very experienced people, very seasoned politicians. They have been, chief ministers for a long time of their states, especially Mr. Chandrababu Naidu from Andhra Pradesh and Mr. Nitish Kumar from Bihar. They are very seasoned people. Another thing that you need to look at is that not a single ally of the BJP in the NDA alliance is a ideological ally of the BJP. They're all contextual allies. They're all transactional allies. So it is a transactional kind of a relationship, not a relationship where your agenda and our agenda are the same. You're also for Hindu Rashtra, I'm also from Hindu Rashtra. Not that kind of a thing. It used to be there once upon a time, maybe under Bal Thackeray, maybe Shiv Sena was something like that, but no longer anymore. You don't see that kind of an alliances anymore in India now with the NDA. So therefore, what dictates these people is their interests, their political interests, or the interests of their state that they're heading, their demands, and their agendas are very different. I do not think the government under Narendra Modi, if at all that were to be formed, I have my own doubts about it. But then, if it were to continue what it has been doing for the last 6 to 7 years, or even 10 years, especially up, of late, the kind of election pitch, the campaign pitch of Muslim, Hindu, Mujra, and mutton, machli, all those kind of things, Mangal Sutra. I don't think that will go very well with the allies that are going to prop up this government. So the question comes to whether Sri Narendra Modi and his second in command, Sri Amit Shah, are they capable of running a coalition government? Now, if you go by the past experience, they don't have winning manners, and they have not done a good turn to leaders within their own party as well as allies or other chief ministers, etc. Therefore, uh, anybody who would look at Narendra Modi and Amit Shah and think that, oh, these people are in difficulty, let me help them. That kind of a feeling they do not evoke, both within the party as well as outside the party. So, therefore, they'll have to, I don't know if it is possible to change themselves so radically. It's almost like turning themselves in and out, inside out. Is that possible? I do not know. It's unlikely to be possible, is my guess. And therefore, the reason why I said, we do not know what kind of a government is going to be formed and who is going to be the prime minister. It could also come to a stage where the allies, if not today, maybe tomorrow, will say, look, this is not working. We probably will continue to support if there's a change in the leadership or change of guard. That's also possible.
You said, I want to pick on something you just said. You have your own doubts on whether this government will be formed. Do you still think that there's a possibility that NDA government will not be formed and Modi will not become prime minister right away?
The last remark that I made is something related to this. See, there are the following possibilities. One, Narendra Modi forming the government. And as I said, changing himself completely, radically, turning himself, inside out and becoming completely different persona. And, pleasing the allies every day, taking their wish lists and, every day from morning till evening, ticking them. And next day morning, again, there is another wish list coming. I do not know if that suits his temperament. That's one. The second thing is if there is a tension or a clash or some kind of a rupture in this, if the allies demand a change of guard, there could be an NDA government without Mr. Narendra Modi heading it. That's another possibility. The third possibility is, the shifting of alliances, shifting of partners from one alliance to the other, because that's not very very new and not completely unexpected, because you have especially Mr. Naidu and Mr. Nitish Kumar. Both of them have been in and out of both these alliances. They are not foreign to either of them. They are there. They were, especially Nitish Kumar. Mr. Naidu has not been in the India alliance, but then he was also part of NDA and came out of NDA also, opposed NDA. So
he's allied with the Congress in the past, so there is some familiarity in that sense.
Yeah, outside support, and when the Congress supported from outside, in some combination or the other, they were all there. So all these are familiar grounds for them. That's what I was trying to say. So you can't rule out anything of that kind of thing. The other thing, Pooja, is If there's a government formed under Mr. Narendra Modi, and there are demands, and even the conduct of the leaders. Now, for instance, I remember very well, very vividly, a picture or a footage recently that Shri Narendra Modi and Mr. Rajnath Singh and other leaders of the BJP were on a stage where a huge garland was brought and was about to be Narendra Modi was about to be garlanded. Mr. Rajnath Singh was also there. Together they were to be garlanded. Something it looked like that. But then some people have pushed Mr. Rajnath Singh away. So the attention has to be exclusively on Mr. Narendra Modi. That was the culture so far. Now, can you imagine that kind of a scenario where Mr. Narendra Modi in the middle and Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu and somebody coming and pushing these two people out? Is that possible? Will the government survive if that were to happen? And will the temperament of the BJP and Shri Modi, which we have seen for the last 10 years, would he allow both these people also to share that kind of an honor along with him? If that were to happen, maybe it's a different thing where you can hazard the guess that there is a complete radical change within the persona of Sri Modi. But to me, it looks very unlikely.
But that said, coalition might not be great for Modi and BJP. But we've seen in the past that whenever there has been coalition governments, unlike the popular perception these days, it has been good for India. The states have gotten better, larger say in what they want. There has been better fiscal federalism as well. So do you think that in that sense, especially as somebody from Andhra Pradesh yourself, do you think it'll be good for the country?
Pooja, I must recall a very insightful comment made by a friend of mine, Mr. Sanjay Baru. He wrote in one of his pieces some time ago that, what India needs is not a strong leader, but a wise leader. So a wise leader, and whenever there was a weak government with a wise leader, even when the government was weak or a coalition government or, a government which was prepared for compromises and give and take and accommodating, a lot of other interests, either state interests or different interests and all that kind of a thing, India did well. That is his thesis. And he has wonderful data to prove the growth of GDP and how the economy has performed, how its foreign trade has performed. If you take that into consideration, well, a coalition government need not necessarily be an unstable government. A coalition government need not necessarily be a weak government. A coalition government need not necessarily be a government that doesn't promote growth or that doesn't allow or that retards growth. Now, there are international examples also. Japan, Italy, they had very normal kind of economic performance, even when they had, in 22 years, maybe 25 governments or something like that. Unstable governments and coalition governments and not lasting for more than a few months. Even then, their economies did not suffer. So it is possible. The other question is, in a country like India, where it's with its diversity, several states and states are very important stakeholders in this, and it's a federal structure. So doing away with that and riding roughshod over states and not allowing the states any fiscal room for them to maneuver, this may not really bode well. In fact, in that scenario, a coalition government would be much liked by the states.
I want to ask you about Andhra in particular. Last time, also, when there was a coalition between BJP and TDP, one of the biggest issues was that the Modi government refused to give the special category status. But this time, the scenario is different. TDP is a very key player, not somebody who's just a periphery in the coalition, and has the the numbers to pull down the government if once they fall. Do you feel that finally Andhra can ask for all these things? It could be the special category status or other kind of development grants for the state now.
I can tell you something because I was also uh, in the government for some time, in Andhra Pradesh government. I can tell you something. I do not have any first-hand knowledge anymore. But from my past experience, I can tell you something that Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, every time he went to Delhi during his stint when I was in the government, he always went with very clear agenda of what he wanted for the state. And then he also has a mechanism to follow it up. And there are officers placed in Delhi who used to go and follow up with different ministries. So we went with a very clear list. And I do not think that it ever happens with Mr. Chandrababu Naidu that he joins a government or he supports a government and he doesn't make very clear demands on the union government, what he expects for the state. And remember, in 2018, when he walked out of NDA, one of the contentious issues was special category status. Now, if he's returning to NDA and supporting the government, he cannot really ignore making special category status as a, a very non-negotiable part of his deal. This is one. The second thing that I guess, he would ask for is the quick completion of Polavaram. Then additional and substantial help for the construction of Amravati. And various other Kadapa steel plant and industrialization, industrial corridor, the waterways and irrigation and so many other things. And he's very good at leveraging the funds which are there parked in the union government in different ministries. So he anytime he goes with a list. Now, if that has been his experience or his practice, I do not see a reason why he would not put a list of demands insofar as the state is concerned. I mean, leave alone ministries and births and all that, that's a political deal. But as far as the state is concerned, he is very, very likely to put a very clear-cut list of demands. And these are some of the important ones, special category status. Now, it is for the BJP and the Modi, if at all Modi ji were to be the prime minister, if at all, I have my doubts. Then he will have to climb down from the special category status, no special category status to anybody. Now, not only that, even Bihar would demand a special category status and a special package and many other things because Mr. Nitish Kumar has been asking for it for a long time. And remember, sometime back, not last election, but before that, Modi ji went and said, what kind of a package do you want? You want 10,000 crores, 20,000 crores, 50,000 crores, 80,000 crores, that kind of a thing. So now he cannot limit that only to election rhetoric. He has to deliver. If it doesn't deliver, then that government, if he were to head the government, that would be an unstable government.
Do you worry that there could be more horse trading, poaching of leaders from not just their allies, but even other parties, maybe TMC, or maybe they could look at some more Shiv Sena NCP MPs to make sure that the BJP numbers now artificially inflate, get closer to that halfway mark so that they don't have to deal with the allies?
Well, they will try, surely. But the point is this. The point is when the political leaders know that the BJP does not have strength on its own to form the government, when the leader of that party and that party itself are weak, why will anybody go? In fact, I would start my analysis from here that even the existing allies will have very less incentive to stick to them if they are not forming the government. Why will anybody stick to a formation which is not forming the government? And which is not only forming the government, but which also, um, you know, caters to their needs and demands. And the demands could be, several kind of demands.
Do you, there's one more thing, and we're picking this up from social media. There's more and more, a sentiment that India Alliance, though they lost, feels like they have won. And this seems like there is some sort of a loss even in victory for BJP, particularly, if not the NDA. Do you share that sentiment too?
You know, I feel that, as I said, the election is actually fought by the people of India against the regime, against the Modi government. And the India alliance is an incidental beneficiary of that fight. So therefore, if somebody feels that they have won, well, it's for them to feel. If somebody feels that they've lost, it is for them to feel the loss. But then the point is this: the BJP might pretend that they're forming the government, historic third term and all that, but you can see that it's just a bluff. And if the India alliance feels that they have made a huge achievement, they should temper it down to see, in spite of all their weaknesses, in spite of they not doing as much as they ought to know. Maybe they have their own limitations imposed by the government, imposed by election commission and agencies and all that, whatever it is. In spite of that, in spite of their less than optimum performance, it is the people of India who fought, and they are the incidental beneficiaries of that. That's how I look at it.
Right. My last question, I want to take a comment on two things: the role of the role of civil society, and the role of media. When I say media, I am only referring to so-called mainstream media, the news channels, and a large section of the newspapers. How do you compare and contrast the role these two sections of the society play?
Unfortunately, Pooja, there is no mainstream media. It is actually an extension of the DAPP, Directorate of Audio Visual Publicity. The government of India has an arm like that under the INB ministry. The mainstream media is perceived as an extension of the DAVP, dependent completely on the government advertisement, government patronage, and then entirely catering to the narrative of the ruling party and the ruling dispensation. Not at all. There are people who have done content analysis of the debates. How many debates were there on unemployment and poverty and rural distress and Kisan Andolan, etc., etc. How many debates are there on or how many discussions are there on pre-wedding bash and all those. You've seen that. So unfortunately, we for the last more than half a decade, we do not have mainstream media worth talking about. The media landscape has shifted so much that even general public have stopped watching television channels and reading newspapers, because they've become so predictable. These people will talk only this, these people will ask only these questions, and these people will interview only these people. That kind of a thing has set in. And actually, the government was under the illusion that they were controlling the narrative, but that's very short-sighted view of the thing. What I noticed during my travel is that because of this, the media totally under control, and there's a huge advertisement blitzkrieg by the regime, especially projecting the prime minister, the prime minister's personality, the prime minister's pictures. Even on your COVID certificate, you had that. And, even if you're getting a 5 kilo rice, you have the prime minister's picture on it. Everywhere on the airports and on the hoardings on the highways, and you open your phone, it's there. So there is some kind of a Modi fatigue has set in. Pooja, you won't believe me that in many middle class households, when I went and sat there, the television was on, and when the prime minister's footage started coming, and I had myself seen my hosts again, so they changed the channel. I have seen it. I'm not exaggerating. So that kind of so you see, thing is this: the media was so misused and misused so badly, and with such short-sightedness that to launch a brand, you can have this kind of a blitzkrieg, but 10 years of this kind of an exposure, an overexposure, does a lot of harm to a brand, especially when the brand is not able to walk the talk, when there is no delivery. When there is delivery, yeah, you see, when it is launched, people are under awe. They said, oh, this brand might deliver, maybe because they're promising a lot and all that. But then once they start using, once they start experiencing it, when it is not delivering, then the overexposure produces a backlash. This is what has happened. So therefore, and on the other hand, what happened when this media has lost credibility, simultaneously the digital media, the social media, the independent media, our media outlets like yours and many others, they started gaining credibility, and it is the narrative which is being exposed to in these media outlets that has started gaining traction, because people went away from the mainstream media. I do not know the data, but I'm sure the viewership and the clicks and all that, and the sales of the newspapers, they must have drastically fallen. I'm not talking about the revenues, but then the viewership I'm talking about. So in that scenario, and in addition to this, when the social media where there are no gatekeepers, this particular election, the society, the independent individuals, not attached to media houses, not attached to political parties, not attached to any groups, they themselves, the kind of content that they've been bringing out about the government, exposing the claims of the government with such certainty and with so much of credibility, this has done a huge amount of damage to the government.
And on the role of civil society, if I could just get your last comment.
Yeah. um, an extension of what I have said so far is the civil society. And for instance, I'm sure you're aware of Edelu Karnataka in Karnataka. Edelu Karnataka is a civil society network of many organizations. Uh, they fought the last assembly elections not as a political party, but they fought against the incumbent BJP government. And I always maintained that the Congress victory there was a byproduct of the Edelu Karnataka fight that was mounted on the incumbent BJP government then. So that model had extended to uh, all India level. There are many meetings in Bangalore and in Delhi and many other places, Mumbai and other places. So that civil society organizations, in fact, they were the ones who reined in the election commission also. Otherwise, the election commission would have been under absolutely no control at all. Although they refused to divulge the gross number of voting to the Supreme Court, but they came under pressure from the civil society groups and they had to give in. So all these things have happened under the pressure of the civil society organizations. So whatever semblance of credibility that these elections today have, and the fact that they could not be manipulated more than what they've already meant. I assume that there was some manipulation, of course, because there's inflation of voting percentage and all that. We have to look into it, and once we get the clear data from all across the country, each individual constituencies, and then we can see, compare the Form 17C and the actual. Did they count only those number of votes which were polled, or did they count more votes? All these things will eventually come out. But that very fact that people and civil society organizations, informed people, equipped people are watching us, have restrained a lot of returning officers, a lot of polling officers, and including the Election Commission of India. There is this little example that I need to bring in here. It was, I think, the philosopher Bentham who designed this, what is called panopticon. Panopticon. That is a circular building where you stand in the middle and everybody is visible to you. All the rooms are visible to you. In fact, one of our hostels in my college used to have that kind of an architecture. You see, a person's behavior is different if he or she knows that nobody is watching. And the same person's behavior will be different if he or she is conscious that somebody probably is watching. So Election Commission was made to stand in a panopticon by the civil society in this election. So civil society stood in the middle, and the entire Election Commission and its infrastructure and its machinery is under watch. That is the message that these civil society organizations and civil society networks could give in this election.
Right. And we hope that this continues. I'm pretty certain it will continue there, irrespective of who comes to power. A section of the media, I can't speak for all of us, and the civil society will continue holding those in power to account. And I thank you for the clarity that you bring to this conversation. As always, it was wonderful having this conversation, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you very much.